Hey all, welcome to Parker's Reefs. In today's episode we're going to be checking out this, the Reefil ATO, which is possibly the cheapest electronic ATO on the Australian market. Alright, so thank you for joining me on another episode of Parker's Reefs, and this one we're going to be checking out this new ATO on the Australian market. It is brought into Australia by Sichet Australia, and I know Patrick over in WA only brings in high quality products, and when I saw this on the shelf at Deer Park Aquarium for only $75, I thought what a great opportunity to fix the ATO on my Cade frag tank, which my regular viewers will know I removed the built-in gravity feed ATO to mount the dry side of my wave makers, the Ecotech MP40s in the back. And since that tank's been running, I've been manually topping it off. And if you know me at all, I'm not a manual kind of guy. When things are automated, they work best in my opinion. And having to manually top off evaporated water has been doing my head in. So when this guy came up, particularly at that price point, I thought what a great opportunity to review a new product, save me topping off the Cade frag tank and creating a video for you guys at home. So let's rip into the unboxing, see what's included, then we'll install it on the Cade frag tank and then I'll summarize from there. Alright, so looking at the box, first of all you can see it is $75 Australian and it is a magnetic mount, which is realistically, in my opinion, the only way to go with an ATO. Suction cups died in the 80s, maybe the 90s, but definitely not in 2020. Magnets are the go. This guy's 12 volts, it's universal. Sure, if you want to use it on freshwater, go for your life. Has an optical sensor. The magnet mount, I'm not sure how many millimeters it's good for, up to 12 millimeter thick, so the magnet's quite strong. It's got an overflow protection, which is always good, and it says it's slim. We'll be the judge of that when we open it up, but also included in the box, you get a pump, you get some tube, you get a power supply, and a pretty ugly looking tube holder. Let's check this guy out. They didn't say you also get some instructions. We should be able to work it out. I'm under the impression it's quite a simple device. We get what looks like probably a couple meters of some silicone tubing. I get the cable wraps off. Yep, looks like 2 meters of tubing. We get a Australian 12 volt 1 amp power supply. We get one of these fairly recognizable little 12 volt pumps. These are the ones that seem to be used in quite a lot of ATOs these days. We get what I thought was the world's ugliest tube holder, and I think I might be right. It is pretty ugly, but hey, if it does the job. And last but not least, we get our sensor and magnetic mount. Now, I did notice on mine, the little rubber pad there's a little offset, hasn't been glued perfectly center, but I guess there's some compromises you make on a $75 piece of equipment. The sensor itself does look to be quite well sealed up, and it is quite narrow, so let's go check it out. I see we got 2 plugs here. I assume one goes to the power, one goes to the pump, and this just must be a little switch in between. So let's go install her on the Cade frag tank and see how we go. All right, pretty sure we've got that all installed the way we need. All that's left now is to turn it on. All right, I'll just try and give you a quick demonstration of the unit in operation. You can see I've got the sensor mounted over here. When I slide that up above the water height, which I have a little zip tie back here to help me not lose the magnet in the back. You can see the pump turns on. Pours the ATO water in. You got to make sure that you keep the outlet of this hose above the water level in the sump, otherwise you can end up siphoning. But what I'm going to do now is just slide this back down in. And you can see the top off water has stopped. Now, I must admit it's a little bit difficult to move the sensor. That's most likely a good thing. They do have this sort of rubbery pad on the magnets which stop it sliding about easily, and like I said, that's probably a good thing because you don't want it getting bumped around. You want your level to be pretty consistent, but for the purpose of review it does make things a little bit difficult. All in all, it seems like a pretty decent unit. There are a couple of good things and a couple of bad things that I'll go over in the conclusion, but it seems to do the job just fine. All right, guys, that was the giant Pacific Reefil ATO in action. All there is to do now is to summarize and wrap this video up. So I figured what we'll do is we'll go over the cons first and we'll end on the pros, because I always like to finish on a high. And in the cons list, I've probably got 3 things I didn't like about this unit. First of all, that giant blue clip that holds the top off hose in your sump is absolutely horrid. It does the job, but it just is so ugly and I don't trust it. I feel like the hose could slip out of it. I'm gonna have to work out something else to hold that hose in the sump just to make it look better and also to give me some peace of mind that it's not gonna slip out. It probably won't slip out, I'm sure it does the job, but for me, that's a giant con. Now, the next 2 cons are kind of similarly related, but it comes down to this unit not really having any smarts whatsoever. Now, I say it doesn't have any smarts, it doesn't have any way of sensing if your reservoir runs empty, it's just gonna keep running that pump till it burns itself out. Now, that does seem to be a big oversight. I must admit, I haven't tested it. I don't want to kill that pump. It's only like 30 minutes old now, so I haven't ran it dry, but it does specifically say in the instructions to make sure your reservoir does not get empty because the pump will run dry and damage. On the other side of that, this unit does not have any sort of overfill alarm or anything like that. The instructions do say that it has another sensor for overfill, and I tested that out by pushing the sensor completely under the water. I don't know what it does. It doesn't alert any sort of audible alarm or any lights flashing or anything like that. I assume it just is a second switch to make sure that the pump is not pumping. That's all good and well, but I guess it would have been nice to have some sort of audible alarm in there, but these are the sort of things that all add up to costing you more money, and this guy is $75. Now, speaking of $75, we can move on to the pros, because that is the biggest one of this unit. $75 Australian, we're talking $50 US for a magnetically attached optical sensor ATO that is quite neat and tidy, works well, minus that blue peg. All right, now speaking of pros, let's hit that first one, and that is the price point. Now, I picked this guy up for $75. The price may vary a little bit from store to store, but at the end of the day, it is the cheapest electronic ATO I've seen on the market. Sure, you can spend a little bit more and maybe get a few more features, but if price is your number one factor, it's hard to go past this guy. Second up on the pros list, it is magnetically attached. We're not using those dodgy suction cups anymore. We use a magnet, and the magnet's good for up to 19 mil thick glass, which seems excessive, but you know it's going to do the job there. Thirdly, the sensor is nice and small. It's going to fit in any sort of sump or all-in-one tank, not look out of place. The fact that the sensor is completely internal, it doesn't have anything that shines through the back of the glass into the front of the glass, so it's going to work on those all-in-one tanks that have a black back section or something like that, which I know from previous history there's been a few ATOs that didn't work in that scenario, and that was a huge issue for people. So this guy's going to work on pretty much any setup you've got. All right, and finally, the last pro is one I probably shouldn't list because I haven't had a chance to test it thoroughly yet. But what I am planning to do with this unit is to actually remove the pump that it came with and plugging in a peristaltic pump from SpectraPure. That will allow me to use this ATO, which is quite affordable, with a very high quality peristaltic pump to draw water a good 25-30 meters away from the reservoir in my back shed and keep the RO levels constant in the Cade frag tank. To me, it looks like it'll be plug and play. We're talking 12 volt DC, 1 amp, take that pump out, put that pump in. I have done it, it does work, but I just want to give it a good few weeks before I recommend it as a way forward for you guys. But so far, so good. All right, now I did mention it's $75 Australian. I can't guarantee that price at every store, but that is the price that it was at my local fish shop, Deer Park Aquarium, where I bought this one. If you are in the market for one, reach out to the guys there and be sure to let them know you saw it on Parker's Reef. I think that's probably everything, guys. If you've got any questions, comments, feedback, pop it in the comment section down below. I do personally reply to each and every one. And if you want to make sure you don't miss out on any more quick, straight to the point reviews on some new products, make sure you hit that subscribe button in that bottom corner. You'll make sure you won't miss any of the future videos. Till next time, guys, stay safe and keep reefing. Bye.